Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the weekly Shonen Jump breakdown for the week of July 16th. We start off with a really solid chapter, One Piece, chapter 872, which has an amazing cover spread. Mugiwara 56, the outfits look cool, the stuff they're riding on looks cool. I'd like to see more of this if we could. It looks really neat. Anyway, the chapter starts with the castle coming down. It is falling. And with it falling, we have this scramble for safety as everyone's trying to get away. They're panicking. They're positive that this is going to be it. They're going to die here. There's no way they could get out of here okay. And in all this, Luffy and Bege and Caesar, they're leaving. They're getting out. They're running. And they actually managed to get away without too much difficulty at all after this. Everybody's a little occupied, to be fair. But Caesar gets his heart back. Nami still reminds him that they haven't forgotten what he did to the kids. You have a really solid moment where Luffy is talking about how, hey, yeah, all we have to do left is get away. And Biggie's like, exactly. And he puts up this sign. Hammers this sign into the ground that says the Straw Hats went that way. And then he takes off. Castle Tank, he's gone. And you have the members of his crew saying they didn't get to say goodbye. You have his wife saying that she became friends with Nami and she wanted to say goodbye. And Becca's just like, nope, we're leaving. We're getting out of here before things get worse. So then, of course, Luffy and his crew, they head out. Brook on Chopper's back to go and get the submarine back. And the Big Mom crew is saved. The people on top of the castle, on top of the cake, are saved by Streusen literally turning it into a cake. A sponge cake. And so you have this moment where everybody immediately starts moving into action. Katakuri's trying to organize parties to go and capture the Straw Hats and the Fire Truck Pirates. And you have Smoothie telling Big Mom that it's going to be okay. And Big Mom looks like she's about to lose it. I would be really surprised if next chapter we don't have some of her own children getting killed or eaten or something of that effect, because it looks like she's about to go wild. There are a couple other nifty things that happen in this chapter. Stussy using Airwalk to get away, and Morgan taking all these pictures, talking about how big news this is, and then remembering he can't fly. That's a really good moment. Of course, we know he's probably okay because Streusen stopped the cake from killing everybody, but it really highlights how powerful Streusen is. I didn't expect when we first met him that he would be as powerful as he actually is, but he is. You don't need to sleep on Streusen. He's pretty solid. If the Big Mom Pirates make it out of this okay after Big Mom has her big fit that she's going to throw, I would be really amazed if we didn't see more of Streusen. Because he is, he's a force to be reckoned with. Being able to turn anything into food, especially with how much he's able to turn into food, he's much more powerful than we expected. So I'm excited to see what happens next chapter. I'm excited to see how crazy Big Mom gets, where the Vinsmokes decide to go and what they decide to do. If they're free, it's going to be real interesting. And with the comment is made that it's going to take them a full day to sail away from Whole Cake Island, it's going to be really cool to see how that escape turns into, or what that escape turns into, with them trying to get away from everyone that makes it away from Big Mom's rampage. Now, if she rampages enough, they'll be able to get away no problem. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how this all turns out. So following this, we have a really cool 20th anniversary special made by Mitsutoshi Shimabukuro. He's the author of Toriko, which recently wrapped up last year. And it's this beautiful little one-shot about his memories of Oda, and how far Oda and One Piece have come, and how he's been a fan this whole time, and a friend and a rival. And it's just really cool. It's a really nice write-up with really well-done art. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Toriko. I thought it was fine, but some of the plot got a little away from me. But I'm very much looking forward to whatever Mr. Shimabukuro draws next, because I really liked his art style here, and it really showed that he does have more ability to draw than what I thought he had, to be honest with you. And I can't wait to see what else he does. Then we have a chapter of Hunter x Hunter, that chapter 364, that is a lot more down to earth, I guess, than what a lot of the recent chapters have been. It feels more like Hunter x Hunter. We have Kurapika doing some really cool stuff in this chapter and using Nin in a really interesting way, in a way that at first I thought was a little OP, until we find out that the cost of how OP it is that it takes an hour of his life from him every second that he uses it. This is not the, every time you use it, it shaves a year off your life. This gets crazy. Every minute he's losing 60 hours. 60 hours every minute with Emperor time. If this gets, like, if it goes on for an hour, he's lost so much of his life. It's crazy. Crazy how quickly that adds up. So he gives the queen, the 8th queen, Queen Oito, this ability that he's took before with his chain. And he's got a new ability now that he's taken from this guy, Vincent. And he gives this to the queen and decides that she's going to have to figure stuff out here. She's going to have to use this to figure out what's going on with the other princes. They've beaten Vincent. Vincent has killed himself. And the phone rings. And it's 3 princes at the same time. Whoever they answer, the other 2 are going to get upset. And if they hang up on one to try and answer another one, that's a declaration of war. While this is going on, you have the first prince's next guard that he appointed after Vincent standing at the door, ringing the doorbell. This is a perfect Hunter x Hunter moment where everything has come together in a way that for a second looked like it was going great and then immediately turned around again. And it's looking pretty good. Kurapika's being Kurapika again, I guess. These last couple chapters have felt really slow with the introduction of the Nin beasts and everything leading up to this moment. But this was good. And I'm really excited to see who they answer. I have a feeling they'll probably answer Sarid's phone call. Or they might answer the first prince's phone call and give the phone to the new guard. We'll just have to wait and see. But Kurapika teaming up with the other guard to take out Vincent was really cool. The way that they used their Nin was really cool. And then to find out, yeah, Vincent should have used his Nin first instead of firing the gun. He made a mistake. And guess what? That mistake cost him his life. So, very excited for more Hunter x Hunter. Robo Laserbeam 17. This is my favorite Laserbeam chapter yet. We have Rion. It opens up with Rion explaining how lob shots work. And telling Robo, don't do one if you don't feel comfortable doing it. And then this gorgeous shot of Suzaku looking at Robo super menacingly. Just eyeing him this whole time. Robo he's shook. He's completely shook up. And he misses his target twice. He goes with a +2 on what should have been a bogey because he misses twice because he's all shook up. Suzaku doesn't let down either. He just keeps going with another amazing shot. This one that bounces off the pin. But Robo, he's so shook up by the lob shot. He's thinking about how the lob shot worked and how Suzaku was able to do it, what he needs to do to be able to copy that he shoots his laser, but doesn't take into effect the wind, and is in the worst possible spot on this whole course. Where there's a bunker in front of him, the hole is there on a slope, and at the bottom of the slope is a small pond. And he finally gets called on how shook he is, and he's like, no, I'm not shook at all. I'm doing fine. And then he realizes, I'm super shook. He's got me right where he wants me, and I'm about to make so many more mistakes if I don't snap out of it. And so then he remembers what his senpai told him. And he decides to just do what he can. And he takes a shot. Takes a beautiful shot that bounces off the pin. When he's asked about it, why would you take such a risky shot? That was so dangerous. His response is that even if he lost, even if he made a mistake and lost, he would still have his senpai behind him. And then you get this wonderful shot of this guy being like, man, that junior sure is making some crazy shots. And Rion is so fired up behind this guy. He is ready to go. Robo has got him ready to rock out there, and I can't wait to see what Rion does next chapter. I loved it so much. I feel like every week, Laserbeam gets me more and more hype. We go from the great hypeness that is Laserbeam 17 to the really somber start that is My Hero Academia 145. Kirishima we're still in the middle of his flashback, and he's just down. He's having a tough time of it. And then he finds this recording, and he gets to hear what Crimson, how he actually felt. He gets to hear this interview, and we get these great lines where when Crimson is asked if he's scared, he says, "Who do you think I am? Of course I'm scared." When they ask him about why he's able to do what he is, he says that a person's facial expression, the pain I couldn't prevent. It's about living without regret. And obviously, these are just snippets, but these are great lines from Crimson that make Kirishima's character make so much more sense. Because all we'd seen so far was him being this boisterous, ready to rock, always ready to throw himself into danger guy. And we get into his flashback, and he's not like that at all. Obviously, these mean a lot to him. These phrases sink in. And he decides this is how he wants to live his life. And he starts training. And he starts working hard. And he starts showing who he really is. And it's just so good to see the change in him, knowing how great a character he already is in the story. It's this weird dynamic of how flashbacks are normally to tell you how a character's sad story and what led them to where they are today. But what we get instead is a flashback showing us how he became the Kirishima we know and love. And to couple that would have been a fine chapter on its own. But Horikoshi can't stop there. No, he got some more work to do here. Because then he has Fat Gum bringing the punch, telling everybody that they underestimated Red Riot's spirit. And Tenkai over there tries to throw his barrier up. It's not going to be enough. Even his allies like, nope, not going to be enough. Doesn't matter. Fat Gum punches him into Tenkai. They go sailing. And we know that this only happened because of Kirishima. Kirishima! Red Riot! Oh, he's so good! He's quickly becoming my favorite character. Just the fact that he knows he's not strong enough, that he doesn't like his own quirk, that it's a ability that isn't flashy, it isn't special, it's not like Todoroki's or Tokoyaki's, but instead it's his, and he's going to use it, and he's going to harden his body as much as he needs to be able to protect the people that need to be protected so that he doesn't regret anything. Oh, it's so good. I thought that after the stuff with Sun Eater, I thought there was no way that another character could hype me up the way that Sun Eater did in this arc. But Kirishima has just come in and stolen the arc right from him. So good. This is followed up by the Promised Neverland 47. Oh boy, this is a chapter that lets us know what is going on. It's the answer to all the questions that we really wanted. We find out about the world. The world is split. There was a deal made between the humans and the demons because they warred too much. So, the humans make this deal, give the demons half the world, and then give them some people so that they can start a farm. So they can then start mini farms. The lives of a few to save the lives of the many, right? It makes sense. It's super dark, but it makes sense. Like, I understand where they're coming from, but even still, so that these other humans can live in peace and happiness, they're condemning these other humans to death. And I'm not saying there was a better decision to be made, but it's going to be interesting to see how this dynamic plays out with William Minerva, and as we find out things about him, that humanity left these other humans to die. To be cattle, basically. And again, the war looked like it was pretty fierce. It looked like there might not have been many other choices. But man, it was a decision to make, and they made it. All that said, I still don't trust Sanju that much. Especially because this chapter was a little too, in a weird way, it was a little too positive. in a really weird way until we just found out there's no humans on this side of the world at all, and they're going to have to cross all the way to the other side. And seeing Emma and Ray take what should be terrible news and get super happy because it means there is a place they could go, because they realize that someone is sending those toys and stuff over, and that means William Minerva must be involved. Like, that's great. That was a really powerful moment. But the chapter ends way too happy. I'm super worried that the Sanju and the girl are not trustworthy at all, and that some of the kids might already be dead, some of them might be missing. I don't know, because we don't see them at the end of this chapter. They're sleeping, supposedly, but it's just too happy and anything. Something bad is happening next chapter, for sure. Putting my name on that now, putting a T for Trey down on this chapter, something bad happening next chapter for sure. So next up's Food Wars 223. And again, I've said it before, I always liked Kuga, but I wasn't as big a fan of some of the other characters. Now, Magishima has definitely won me over with the last couple chapters. Mimasaka. I didn't really care for him that much, but boy did he pull through this chapter. Getting ahead of myself, but Kuga is not using green leaves at all. He's not cooking with tea leaves at all. He's just preparing the meat that he's going to be cooking, and everybody's getting a little concerned about this. While all this is happening, the first seat, Tsukasa, is crazy good. He respects his ingredients and understands them on such a level that he's referred to as the White Knight of the table. And it's just this really strange moment where it feels like everybody else is fighting, but he's just going through this almost like this dance over there, getting everything together, getting everything perfect. Did not expect him to enjoy trash talk as much as he does, though. I think it makes him a much more interesting character, because he's not just this guy who respects and worships ingredients. He will straight up trash talk if somebody is not doing things the way he thinks they should be done. I think it's great to have that extra layer to him that we didn't have before. I mean, we've seen him trash talk a little bit, but not to this level. He's just calling Kuga out. However, Kuga is not being lazy, because Mimasaka has traced Kuga's ability and throws Kuga a bottle, basically, of some black liquid that I'm sure we'll find out what it is next week. And of course, Mimasaka also has to cosplay as Kuga to be able to do this, and responds that that's what being a part of a team Shokugeki means, is that they're going to back each other up. And just the moment when it cuts to Mimasaka and he has the wig on and tries to act like Kuga, and Kuga's just like, please stop. It's so good. Again, these are characters that I loved Kuga, and I wasn't sold on the other two, but as Mimasaka and Magishima have come forward and done more things, they're starting to win me over a little bit. They've still got a long fight ahead of them, don't get me wrong, but they're starting to win me over. Black Clover 117. I said it last week. I'll say it again. There is not enough Kirsch in the world. Kirsch Vermillion needs to be... Like, he needs his own story. I want to see a Kirsch manga. I want to see a Kirsch offshoot just about him. He's great! Asta's so proud of Kirsch's win, basically. He's super happy, and Kirsch is like, I don't want to hear that from someone as poor as you. So then you have this really good moment where they're talking about Asta's cracked crystal, and how Kirsch is like, yeah, you don't stand a chance. And Asta's like, well, if something's got a crack, it just means that it's worked harder, and that it'll last longer. And everybody immediately is just like, oh, that's right, Asta's poor. It's just this really good moment in the middle of all this seriousness. Immediately the seriousness is back, though, in an amazing round with Finral, Leopold, and Haman. Finral is just setting his team up to perfect victory. And it's amazing to me that Finral is so much better than he thinks he is. And we see him starting to gain that confidence, but before he was just letting himself be used as basically a taxi service. Whereas now he's starting to come to understand that, no, I have power too. I'm going to use it. We're going to win. And this all comes to a head at the end of the chapter when Langerus faces off against him and is like, hey, you're going to lose. you're still just using your teleportation magic that way. Like, your spatial magic is just for teleportation. Ha! You're going to lose. The reason Langris is able to say this is because in his round, with Seki, Fragile, and himself, Langris has the hand from JoJo Part 4. He stole Okuyasu's power and just cuts the space, just steals the space from where the crystal is, even though it's completely surrounded by this barrier. Langris is not playing around. And I'm really excited to see this one-on-one between... A one-on-one. It's going to be 3-on-3, but still, between Langris and Finral. Because these two characters, they're brothers, and there's so much of their backstory we don't know. I'm honestly hoping for a bit of a flashback. And I normally don't ask for stuff like flashbacks, but I think Finral is a really good character, and I'm loving Langris and his overbearing power that he basically revels in. And who is she? Who is this girl that Langris is talking about that he doesn't want Finral to disappoint? Is this maybe a sister that we don't know about? Is this maybe a spurned lover? Is this maybe someone that Finral was supposed to marry, but now because he's a black bull, that's not happening? Or maybe he's supposed to marry her and he's become a black bull because he wants to get away from that. Who knows? I'm very excited to find out who she is. We could theory craft all day if you gave me the chance, so we'll move on, but this was a really good Black Clover chapter. It was kind of short, it felt like, but we got some good action, we got some good character moments, and we got some really nice setup that I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. We Never Learned Chapter 23. It's a pretty long chapter, but most of it was really good. We stayed in the same area pretty much, but the sleepover was a really nice decision, I think, by the author to be able to have the girls in a different environment, so they were able to focus on different things. And of course, by bringing in Sekijo, who I think is one of the more interesting side characters, you're able to get an outsider's perspective, even though she's clearly on Team Ogata. The girls are all trying to have a good time, and they invited Sekijo, so they had somebody to help them study without having Yuiga there. Sekijo is not happy with this decision at all. She doesn't want to help them study, so she calls Nariyuki. And of course he comes over. He has no idea it's a pajama party, and so you have this really interesting moment where he's like, nope, I can't be here, I'm gonna go. Like, but we need help with studying. And he can't say no to that. So he helps the girls out, he teaches Takamoto some stuff, he teaches Furuhashi some stuff, teaches Ogata some stuff. There's a really nice touch in that the book Takamoto's trying to translate is The Emperor's New Clothes. I really enjoyed that. And of course, Yuiga's really good at teaching. He's legitimately good at it. So Takamoto and Furuhashi want him to stay the night. Ogata seems shocked. He's like, no, I can't, no, definitely not. And then at the bottom of the udon that her dad had given everybody, there's just a note that says you need to leave within the next 5 minutes. And so then he's like, nope, I gotta go. It's a really cool moment that I was afraid this chapter was going to be Nariyuki sleeping like on the side of the room, super self-conscious about being in the room with these 4 girls in pajamas. But the author completely subverted that in a really cool way. And it leads us to one of the more interesting character moments in this chapter, which is where everybody is laying out, and Takamoto and Ogata are studying a little bit, and Furuhashi and Sekijo are talking, and Sekijo says, yeah, Yuiga's going to have it tough. Nariyuki's going to have a really tough time of it because he's too nice. And she's like, yeah, his girlfriend's going to have it tough too. And Furuhashi's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I hadn't thought about it before, but I guess you're right. And Takamoto asks the all-important, yet terrifyingly dangerous question, if Yuiga has a crush on anybody. Sekijo's like, yeah, obviously he had a crush on Ogata. She's the best girl here. Furuhashi is like, well, maybe Takamoto to try and balance it out. Ogata's crushed. Takamoto's pleased. Furuhashi tries the reverse. Completely happens the opposite way. So she tries to pull it back again. It's just this really good moment where, for the first time, the characters are having to think about what it's actually like for Nariyuki and what it's going to be like in the future, because he is too nice. He's absolutely too nice. He's 100% too nice, but I don't blame a guy that has grown up taking care of his siblings and wanting to help other people. when somebody asks him for help, it's the first thing he does. And it makes a lot of sense to me that he would be like that, but it's absolutely going to hurt him as he gets older. There's going to be people who take advantage of him for sure. And technically, Sekijo took advantage of him tonight to get him to help him study. Then there's this really, really cute moment where Sekijo tells them how lucky they are to have Yuiga. And they all just smile and then go back to studying. It's just it was a really solid chapter. Even down to the little gags like Furuhashi reciting all of Rashomon in her sleep. Like, it was a really, really good chapter for We Never Learn. A lot of the complaints that I see about We Never Learn is that it feels like the story isn't going anywhere, that it's kind of just creeping along. And this was a really powerful character chapter. Even if the moments didn't last that long, it was something that the characters need to be thinking about. Which is that, yeah, at some point there is going to be a future. Yeah, at some point he is going to wind up with somebody. Who is it going to be? So, looking forward to next week. Looking forward to some more good gags and hopefully some more hidden character growth. Speaking of character growth, Dr. Stone 19. Oh my gosh. This chapter's so good. Spoilers, this chapter's great. Senku coats Kenro's spear in gold dust. Kenro's like, that's worthless. I don't want that. And as he's walking away, it's like imagining this super tough warrior version of himself in his head with the gold spear. He's like, well, I suppose there's no reason to scrape it off. You learn about the stuff with Kohaku and her sister, Ruri, about how Ruri's sick, about how she's the shamaness, about how she notices the difference in Kohaku's hair, and it's like, what happened? You have to be more careful. We find out that the village doesn't want to leave the shamaness alone, probably because they're worried about her health, and that Chrome got into sorcery, and science, really, that Chrome got into all this to try and find a way to heal Ruri. He wants to find a cure. He asks Senku to help him, and Senku's like, well, I'd have to check her out first, see what's going on. I can't guarantee anything. And then Senku's like, let me go ahead and tell you what has happened. Let me go ahead and tell you about what used to be. And you have these amazing panels of civilization and mankind going to the moon and a man with a robotic arm and a little robot. And Chrome is just taking all this in. And then he begins to weep bitter tears at all that humanity has lost. And Senku reminds him, it's not gone. It lives on with us. And Chrome immediately is like, yeah, I want to join your science kingdom. I'm with you, no matter what. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's heal Ruri. Let's bring back civilization. Let's do it. Senku doesn't talk about himself very often. We don't learn a lot about what makes Senku tick. But I feel like in this chapter, in his conversation with Chrome about what the world used to be like, we learn so much more about Senku than we knew before. This is what drives him. This is what keeps him going. He wants to bring humanity back to what it was, and he's been fighting so hard because it's only been him. He's the only one that could remember it all, the only one that can hold it all together, the only one that had any hope, and now he's met Chrome, and he's got a chance. And I'm so excited to see where it goes next. Obviously, they're going to look for a cure for Ruri. Obviously, this is going to wind up with Kohaku falling more in love with Senku. Hopefully, Chrome and Ruri hook up. I feel like that's me being a shipper. You know how I am sometimes, guys. But I feel like that's a cool direction the story could take. At the same time, maybe they can't heal Ruri. Maybe she dies, and Chrome dedicates his life to helping Senku to find some way to help other people that get sick. Dr. Stone worried me a lot when Taiju and Senku split up, but I am very much enjoying, and this chapter is probably the best one out of the entire set. It's real good. That moment when Chrome begins to weep, man, you feel the emotion in him of how bitter he honestly is that it's all gone. Such a good chapter. Such a good chapter. Finally, we end off this section of Jump with One Punch Man 71. Suriryu is fighting so hard to try and stop Goketsu, but he is not winning. His arm gets broken, his best punch gets stopped, and he gets thrown aside like he's trash. There's these 3 Crow subordinates that have been around that we find out are Goketsu students, former students, and that they took the beast cells and they lost their sense of self. And they have beaten up all the other fighters, basically, except for Bakuzan. And Goketsu is like, this guy's here, eat him. He's worthless to me. And Suiryu is just tossed onto the ground in front of these 3 crows monsters. And he sees Bakuzan, and he's like, Bakuzan, come on, help me. Come on, get up here, help me. Bakuzan's like, you know, you were tougher than me. I didn't want to admit it, but you were tougher than me. But he's stronger than you. So I'm going to become a monster, and I'm not going to give you the chance to do so. And he eats like 3 monster cells and dies because he can't handle the monsterization process. So then Suiryu is completely alone again. The crows come after him, and Snek shows up and blocks the attack. Lightning Max comes in and lightning kicks one of them. Max and Snek are 2 characters that I always wanted to see more of, that I felt like we didn't get enough. We got to see them a little bit in the earlier parts of this arc, but they were 2 of them that stood up to fight the Deep Sea King and got beaten so badly, but didn't really get that much screen time after it. They were just left behind. And I've always thought they were kind of cool. They're like low-rank heroes, but they're kind of cool. And so getting to see Snek and Max standing there, and Suiryu is like, why did you come back? You even went home and changed clothes. Why did you come back? Like, to help. And Suiryu is just like floored by this. And Snek is like, besides, now I'm wearing my fighting gear. And Max is like, yeah, and I'm wearing my lightning shoes. And so then they asked Suiryu to help them fight these crow beasts. That would be 3-on-3. And they have this, it all culminates in this amazing double spread with the 3 of them destroying the 3 former students, the crow monsters, just wrecking them. I was really afraid when we saw Suiryu losing that it would wind up with Saitama coming back and just knocking Goketsu out and just being done with it. But I'm so glad to see that other people are getting a chance to fight. I love Saitama, I do. But it feels like sometimes the really good fights in the series are lost when he steps in. And to be able to see Suiryu fight Goketsu like this, to be able to see Snek and Max fight back, I can't wait for this fight to be animated. I want to see it so badly. There's an extra interview at the back of this issue of Jump, an interview with Hirohiko Araki. And it's a pretty good interview. If you care at all about JoJo, you should read it. They ask him some of the basic questions that everybody expects, and he gives the answers that you would expect, that you probably already heard before if you follow him in interviews. But he talks about, they ask him, which JoJo would you hang out with if you got the choice? And he says he would hang out with Josuke. That he drew Josuke the way that he would draw a great friend. And that's just a really cool thing to me. I love stuff like that. Finally, we have author comments. You guys know how much I love the author comments. Most of them are congratulating Oda, of course. Horikoshi has a nice little blurb about how he wishes he could go back and tell his past self that he's in Jump with Oda. And Oda's just like, hey, thanks, everybody. It's really cool, and if you haven't heard my thoughts on the 20th anniversary of One Piece and how One Piece has got here, I'll put the link to that video in the description. It's on the channel. You should absolutely check it out. I cry a little bit at the end and hold myself back. But, I love One Piece, as I'm sure you guys can figure that out. And I love good manga. I love good storytelling. So, we'll be back next week with another exciting issue of the weekly Shonen Jump breakdown. If you have any comments about these chapters, or about the different stories this week, put it in the comment section below. Email us at thefullspectrumpodcast@gmail.com if you have any specific questions, or you just want to ask us a question for the whole group to answer, or just for me. Doesn't matter. We'll answer them anyway. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys next week. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Jump has to offer.